Have you ever felt the weight of other people's expectations pressing down on you, as if they know what you're capable of better than you do? You've set your own clear expectations, goals, ambitions, and a precise path forward. Every step is calculated, driven by the quiet certainty that you know exactly what you're doing. Yet others, those who don't see your vision or understand your determination, project their doubts onto you, underestimating just how far you can go. The first situation where you defied expectations is when malicious gossip was used as a weapon against you. The intent was clear. They wanted to see you crumble under the weight of slander. They whispered in corners, spreading falsehoods like wildfire, hoping to engulf your reputation in smoke and ash. They assumed people would turn their backs on you, that you'd be left isolated, humiliated, and broken. But their expectations were born from a profound misunderstanding of who you are and how you are perceived. What they didn't account for was the strength of the foundation you've built over time. Your character, like a fortress carved from stone, had already weathered storms far more ferocious than the weak winds of their rumors. The people in your life knew you, not the distorted version they were trying to create, and the gossip dissolved into insignificance as soon as it left their lips. Instead of the coldness they anticipated, you were met with warmth. Instead of suspicion, you found trust. The words meant to poison others against you became the very thing that solidified the support of those who truly mattered. The gossip spread with the intention of turning the tide against you, of leaving you isolated in a vast sea of social exile. It was a plan meticulously laid out, every sentence sharpened to cut you down. But what they failed to realize is that you are not so easily undone. In fact, the moment those rumors reached the ears of those around you, they sparked something much stronger than doubt. They ignited a deep sense of loyalty. One by one, people stood up, not to spread the fire, but to put it out. The moment the words of malice began circulating, they thought they would witness your fall. Instead, the atmosphere shifted in a way they could not have predicted. Rather than fueling a mob mentality, the rumors were met with silence. Silence born not from agreement, but from rejection. There was no appetite for the lies they so desperately wanted others to feast on. People saw through the thinly veiled attempts at sabotage. You became the target, yes, but only for support. The whispers intended to tear you down served as a spotlight, illuminating your resilience and the strength of the connections you've cultivated. People rallied around you, not with grand gestures or loud proclamations, but with quiet affirmations, subtle gestures of solidarity. A hand on your shoulder, a knowing glance, unspoken words that said, "We see you, we stand with you." The betrayal, intended to isolate you, only reinforced the bonds you had forged. The person who sought your downfall expected a feeding frenzy, a public execution of your character. What they witnessed instead was a shield of empathy and understanding, more impenetrable than anything they could have foreseen. They wanted chaos but were met with calm. They expected destruction and received nothing but disappointment. In the end, the person who spread the gossip stood alone. They anticipated laughter, mockery, and abandonment at your expense. But the only one who faced isolation was them. Their attempts to ruin your reputation backfired spectacularly. The more they spoke, the less they were heard, as if the universe itself had conspired to mute their efforts. In the silence that followed, you stood unscathed, your integrity intact, while they were left to reckon with the undeniable truth. You cannot be undone by lies. The second situation where you defied expectations is when someone attempted to keep you under their thumb by offering you only crumbs, assuming that would be enough to make you dependent on them. Their tactic was as clear as it was manipulative. Give you just enough to keep you tethered, just enough to keep your hunger for more gnawing at you, but never enough to let you rise. They controlled the flow of resources, thinking they controlled you as well, certain that you would always need what little they decided to grant you. They believed your reliance on their meager offerings would grow stronger as time passed, trapping you in a cycle of desperation. But they failed to see the fire that already burned within you, the quiet rebellion that refused to be extinguished by scarcity. You weren't content to live on what they gave, and instead, You forged your own path toward independence. What they withheld only fueled your determination. Each denial, every calculated restriction, became a source of power. Rather than diminish you, it ignited something far greater than they could have anticipated. You didn't just take what was denied to you, you built a new foundation, one that didn't require their approval or their resources. Their grip on you shattered the moment you realized you no longer needed what they held. You had transcended their control. Where they expected you to remain small, you grew. Where they expected you to remain dependent, you gained freedom. And when they saw the fruits of your labor, it was twice what they had ever imagined, twice what they had ever offered. The abundance you created was not a reflection of what they gave, but a manifestation of your own potential, one they had grossly underestimated. And now, it's time to level up even further. The Obsidian Inner Circle, in partnership with Astral Atom, is where you take that unstoppable growth and multiply it. This isn't a space for those still begging for crumbs, it's for those who take the whole table. While they're stuck choking on their own failures, we rise. In the Inner Circle, we don't play by their rules, we rewrite them. You broke free from their game, and now it's time to create your own. Join the Inner Circle and get uncensored elite access to the creators of Astral Atom, along with the strategies that ensure you don't just rise, you stay untouchable. We're not here to settle, we're here to claim what's ours and then some. The link is in the description. The third situation where you defied expectations is when you were overshadowed by someone deemed destined for greatness. They were the one everyone bet on, the shining beacon of potential. You, on the other hand, were sidelined, underestimated, and overlooked. They worked tirelessly, flaunting their effort and success for all to see. You were considered the underdog, the one who could never quite reach the heights they had seemingly been born to ascend. The narrative was set. They would rise and you would remain where you were, perpetually striving but never surpassing. But what no one saw coming was the quiet momentum you built. Without needing to match their loud displays or mimic their frantic efforts, you advanced in ways that escaped the eyes of those watching. While they exhausted themselves trying to cling to the top, you moved forward with purpose, calm and steady, never burning out. What they mistook for apathy or lack of ambition was simply a different rhythm, a pace that allowed you to rise in your own time. They poured themselves into trying to be first, while you surged forward without the weight of their pressure. And then came the moment when everyone realized you had surpassed them. The shock reverberated through the crowd that once doubted you. While they strained and struggled to maintain their lead, you effortlessly overtook them, your success seeming to unfold naturally. It was not just that you caught up, it was that you soared beyond them, leaving them stunned and scrambling to understand how it happened. The truth they refused to see was that success was never about the noise, the display, or the expectation. It was about the unshakable confidence and determination you carried, undisturbed by the opinions of others. They had given everything, pushed themselves to the brink, but it was you who triumphed. The last had truly become first, and your rise left them questioning their own path. You didn't need to try as hard as they did because your success wasn't forced. It was a reflection of your authenticity, your ability to move forward without chasing validation. Their expectations crumbled under the weight of their own arrogance, while you, the one once underestimated, stood at the summit they could no longer reach. The surprise belonged to them, but the victory was always yours. The fourth situation where you defied expectations is when someone attempted to bring you down using dark energy, manipulation, or malicious intent. Their goal was to weaken you, to sabotage your spirit by flooding your path with negativity. They believed they could wield forces against you that would unsettle your world, shaking the foundations of your confidence and success. They conjured their venom, sending it out like a storm meant to disrupt your peace and corrode your strength. Their intent was clear: to bend you, break you, and force you to crumble under the weight of what they had unleashed. But what they didn't understand is that you were already vibrating on a higher frequency, one they could never reach. Your power was not in dark corners, but in light, and that light burned far too brightly for their shadows to take hold. You didn't just survive their attempts, you thrived. The negative energy they hurled at you collided with the impenetrable shield you had built within yourself, forged by your resilience, clarity, and determination. What was meant to harm you dissolved before it could touch you, evaporating into nothingness against the sheer force of your inner strength. They expected your energy to dim, for doubt and fear to seep into your life like poison. But instead, your vibration only rose higher and higher, pushing back against the darkness they sent. The malevolence they tried to wrap around you like chains simply fell apart, unable to latch onto anything. They had no idea that by trying to drag you down, they had actually helped you ascend. Their efforts to block your path only opened new doors, clearing away the debris that once cluttered your mind and spirit. What they meant to be a curse became an unexpected blessing, because you knew how to rise above. Then came the moment they had not anticipated. The energy they had sent out, coiled and twisted, began to return to its source. They had underestimated the law of return, the way the universe balances itself. The negativity they directed at you had nowhere to go but back to them, multiplied by the very force of its intent. It ricocheted back, striking them with the full power of their own malice. The storm they created spun on its axis and collapsed upon them, leaving them caught in the whirlwind of their own creation. Their manipulation, their attempts at control, turned inward, devouring the space they thought they had secured for your downfall. You, on the other hand, remained untouched. Your path, far from being obstructed, was now clearer than ever. The attempts to harm you had not only failed, but had strengthened your resolve and sharpened your vision. Their dark magic, their manipulation, was powerless against the brilliance of your being. You continued to rise, leaving them to grapple with the chaos they had summoned, powerless in the face of their own failure. They never saw it coming, the way their plan backfired so spectacularly, how you not only escaped their grasp, but soared far beyond it. You didn't fight their darkness with more darkness. You didn't meet their manipulation with retaliation. Instead, you stayed true to your own energy, elevated yourself, and allowed the universe to do the rest. What they sent to break you returned to them tenfold, while you remained a force that couldn't be touched, let alone brought down. The victory was yours not through struggle, but through unshakable alignment with who you truly are. Their failure was inevitable, and your strength undeniable. The fifth situation where you defied expectations is when someone sought to manipulate you, assuming they could easily toy with your emotions, reduce you to just another pawn in their self-serving game. They approached with a carefully calculated plan, one that they believed would place them in control. You were meant to be just another move in their strategy, a temporary piece on their board, easily manipulated and then discarded when they no longer had use for you. They underestimated you, thinking you would fall in line with their expectations, oblivious to their true intent. But what they failed to grasp was the depth of your character, the strength you carried beneath the surface, hidden from those who only saw what they wanted to see. You weren't a tool to be used. You were a force they didn't understand. Their plan began to unravel the moment they crossed your path. Every interaction, every word meant to guide you down a path of manipulation, only revealed your authenticity, your unwavering sense of self. Where they expected compliance, they were met with resistance. Where they anticipated weakness, they encountered strength. Their expectations shattered as they realized you were not just another option. They had encountered someone far more formidable than they could have imagined. And then, without warning, the very power they thought they wielded over you turned back on them. Their own intentions began to twist and warp, not because of any grand move on your part, but because your presence alone shifted the dynamic. They thought they could control you, but instead, they were pulled into your orbit. The more they interacted with you, the more they saw your value. What began as manipulation transformed into something else entirely, something they hadn't planned for and couldn't control. They caught feelings, drawn to the very qualities they had initially dismissed. They had believed they could play the game without consequences, that you were just another step toward their goal. But you weren't a fleeting moment in their story. You became the central figure, the one they couldn't shake, no matter how hard they tried to maintain control. Their emotions, once distant and detached, now tangled with the very thing they had tried to avoid. You became more than they ever bargained for, a presence too powerful to simply overlook or move past. What they didn't anticipate was that you would be the one to shift the balance of power. Their attempts to manipulate you had backfired in the most profound way possible. Now, they were the ones trying to navigate their emotions, trying to regain control in a situation that had spiraled far beyond their original intent. The feelings they developed weren't part of their plan. They were an unexpected consequence of underestimating who you truly were. You didn't need to play their game, you simply existed, and that was enough to turn the tables. Their entire strategy collapsed under the weight of their newfound emotions. The manipulator became the one who was caught off guard, unprepared for the intensity of what they now felt. The control they sought to wield had slipped through their fingers, leaving them exposed, vulnerable, and unsure of how to proceed. You, on the other hand, stood in the same place you always had, unmoved by their schemes, untouched by their attempts to control you. You weren't just another option. You were the one who changed everything. This month, revelation arrives with undeniable force. You are standing at the precipice of your true purpose, a moment of expansion that was long overdue. Projects you've nurtured in silence are now taking shape, flourishing into something so magnificent that even you, with all your ambition, are stunned by the speed and scale of their growth. Yet, this success isn't a surprise to you alone. It has caught everyone off guard. They had underestimated you, overlooked you, and in their attempts to bury your potential, they unknowingly watered the seed of your greatness. You've become the flower they never saw coming, blooming in full despite every obstacle they laid before you. For too long, you were held in the shadows. The world seemed content to ignore your progress, convinced that your potential was limited, that you would never rise above the soil where they left you. People mistook your quiet persistence for complacency, your patience for weakness. But what they failed to realize is that in the darkness, where they couldn't see, you were gathering strength. Like a seed buried deep, you absorbed every drop of nourishment, every ounce of resilience, preparing for the moment you would break through. Now, as you stand tall, those who once doubted you are forced to confront a reality they cannot deny. Some will even dream of your success, haunted by the undeniable truth of your ascent. You've become the vision of everything they tried to stifle. Their attempts to slow you down only hardened your resolve. The barriers they placed in your path became stepping stones. The doubts they whispered became the fuel for your fire. Every attempt to hinder you, every act of sabotage only made you stronger, sharper, more determined to rise. What they don't understand is that you are aligned with something far greater than their petty schemes. Your purpose runs deep, woven into the very fabric of who you are. It's not something they can touch, let alone control. Their efforts to derail you were futile because you were never walking the path they imagined for you. You were charting your own course, one they couldn't see or understand. And now, as your success unfolds before them, they are left bewildered, grappling with the fact that their attempts to dim your light only made it shine brighter. Growth is a force that cannot be stopped, especially when it's rooted in authenticity. And you, chosen ones, have planted your roots so deep that no storm, no amount of doubt or interference could ever uproot you. They thought they had buried you, but they simply didn't understand that you were never meant to remain hidden beneath the surface. You were destined to grow, to bloom, and to take up space in ways they never anticipated. In this season of revelation, everything becomes clear. Their envy, their fear, their misguided attempts to keep you small, all of it has only served to amplify your strength. As you step into your purpose, launching projects that once seemed out of reach, your success becomes inevitable. You are no longer the underestimated seedling struggling for recognition. You are the flower in full bloom, radiant and undeniable, standing tall in the field they once thought belonged to them alone. This is your time, and nothing they do can stop it. Every step forward is proof of your power, a testament to your resilience. Let them dream of your success. Let them see it unfold before their eyes, and let them understand this is only the beginning. You are unstoppable. The efforts to stop you, whether through gossip, manipulation, or even attempts to drain your energy, have all failed. Every move they made, every underhanded tactic they employed, only served to strengthen your resolve. You've risen above it all, untouchable by the negativity they sent your way. Their attempts to bring you down were met not with resistance, but with the quiet power of your growth, your ability to transform every obstacle into fuel for your ascent. You've elevated beyond their reach, and the distance between you and their pettiness grows wider with each step you take. You are not just surviving these battles, you've already won. The energy they poured into trying to diminish you has boomeranged back, leaving them entangled in their own web. Meanwhile, you move forward, radiating a light that cannot be dimmed, no matter how much they try. You've transcended their games, their traps, their gossip. Your vibration is too high, your purpose too strong. What they fail to understand is that they were never capable of stopping you. You've always been destined for more, and no amount of manipulation could ever alter that truth. Now the path ahead is clear. Keep moving forward, knowing that the power you hold cannot be taken, cannot be diminished, and cannot be controlled. Share your stories. Let others know how you overcame, how their attempts to hinder you only fueled your rise. Your victory is not just yours to keep, it's a beacon for others who are on the verge of discovering their own strength. Let the world hear your voice, because you are unstoppable, and this is only the beginning.